So I'm looking at the print version and the online version of National Geographic. This is the December 2011 issue. So we'll start by looking at how images are used. This image comes from the print version of the magazine. You can see that it takes up 2 pages. It's a very dynamic page, very colorful, which you'll see throughout the magazine. And then they tend to use some white text on the picture in the corners. Varies depending on the picture. It is a little bit difficult to read based on the way that's set up, but it does stand out somewhat from the picture. So we look at the same picture now here on the online version, and you'll see that it's obviously not quite as dynamic. It's much smaller, and now that we have advertisements and we have navigational tools around it, and also a lot of negative space, which kind of detracts from the actual picture. Having the text below the image does make it considerably more readable, however. So now let's look at how text is used here, and this is in the print version again. And this is one of the rare places in which there are no images or graphics in the magazine on the pages. And you can see they use columns throughout the pages, but to break that up, we have some color and increased size to draw the reader to certain places in which new thoughts begin. So compare that to the online version, and you can see there really isn't any color. The only attempt to differentiate the text is this bold here that they put at the beginning of one of these paragraphs. The text is a little bit easier to read here as the line spacing is increased, but the actual font and the kerning seem to be about the same as they are in the print version. Moving on to the layout, you can see in the print version, these are the two examples of pretty much what the print version looks like throughout. We either have full page images, like you saw earlier with the tigers, and then we have the text, the white text on top of it, or we'll have something like this where we have some asymmetrical balance with the image spilling over onto a second page. This is a nice layout, but the problem here is the text becomes quite secondary as it's kind of bunched up below and to the side here, and this extra negative space here with a small margin on this column is a little bit distracting. Also, there's a problem I feel with the deck being in between the two areas of body text. They try to differentiate it by changing the font and having it be a little smaller and having it be in italics, but it still makes it a little bit difficult to flow through the actual text of the article. We go to the online version here, and you can see they employ thirds on their page. These aren't evenly divided thirds. As you can see, we have the left third and the right third, which are considerably smaller than the middle third. The left one always tends to be navigational stuff, whereas the right is always an advertisement. The focal point being the middle picture on these pages. In the interior articles, they have the text directly below that in the middle third, below the focal point. Here on the main page, they used it for more navigational links. This empty negative space, though, below the ads, this becomes very distracting. It almost is a secondary focal point, really. It does become less noticeable as you scroll down further on the page because the navigational links stop, but then you have a lot of empty negative space around the text, which kind of makes the page look very empty. So we'll get to which version I prefer here, and I think these two images really sum up why I prefer the print version, which is the one on the left here, to the online version. The print version is much more dynamic. You have the full page pictures, which really draw the reader in. The color is exciting. Online, it's just very much more plain. You have the focal point. The text is very plain. It's not very much, it doesn't differentiate very much from the actual text of the body and the text in the title. And the advertisements and the navigation links tend to move your eye around a little bit more and don't focus it as much as you want to on the text, which looks kind of barren and very empty, especially as you scroll down further. So that's my comparison of the online and print versions of National Geographic magazine.